Gemini, hi, welcome. This is Erin Scott here, and we're going to do another art channeling. This is for mid-April. Today, I'm filming this on the Aries new moon, April 15th, 2018. So for every new moon cycle, we're tapping into what the natural evolutionary arc is for your demographic, for your egoic embodiment. So for the Gemini archetype, what's the growth edge? Thus, what activities might be pushing your growth? So as I've been doing, what I started a couple years ago, but then what I've been doing since the beginning of the year has been these channelings. We're tapping into form. What picture, what image, what form wants to come through? So I have my gouache paints here, and let's just start with your name, your title, your archetype. Okay. Now I will say that the paper that I'm using this month was what I had on hand, and it's less expensive than what I've been using. So thus it's a little bit, it has a different kind of texture to it, but it'll still bring forward the imagery for you. So Gemini, let's kind of see what forms want to come through for this powerful Aries new moon cycle. Now, there's a lot happening today, Sunday the 15th, and for this week, and in the next month. So I recommend watching my video on what's activated, as well as other people's videos on what is happening for this time frame, because it's important. There's a big shift happening. Sincerely, there's a big narrative, energetic shift occurring that is moving our focus of growth on a collective level to a new place. It's the appropriate place. It's what it needs to be. So all is well, but we are moving into a new 7-year cycle that is going to be intense. Okay? Very intense. Let's see if you can, I think you can see it okay. So let's see what wants to come. One thing that I'll point out is that on the video that I did on the moon, on this new moon and the portal of what's activated for this week, one of the things that's been coming up for many people is body activations, health issues. Our physicality is being very impacted by the energetic shifts happening. And if you're also impacted, if you're a viewer, a Gemini viewer that's also been impacted physically, just know that it is kind of the nature of the time, and it does require more discernment and discipline when it comes to health, movement, flexibility, health and healing, just in general for the body. So a new attention, a new level of attention to the body, especially as of next month when Uranus moves into Taurus. So if a new diet has been calling you, a new cleanse, a new habit shift, then listen to that. You want to listen to that, okay? Okay, Gemini, so I'm just going to tap in here for a little bit while I bring some more imagery through, and then we will talk about it. Hoping you're able to see everything okay. It has a little sunlight coming in. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, I think either one is pretty good. I also have my pencils here. So Gemini, you might hear some noise in the background. I hear my neighbors right outside, so just FYI. For those interested, by the way, on the video that I posted on the public channel, that was originally streamed for my patrons, and I edited some of it out, and I posted it on the public channel. But for those interested in learning about receiving weekly astrosymbology and guidance readings that are now going to be live streamed. It's always going to be live streamed every week, every Saturday. So for those interested, for $11 contribution a month, you can help with art supplies, but certainly. You can also receive some really delicious support. So I'm going to stop this here. I do actually want to get my animal book. Now, this is being live streamed right now. So I'm doing this a little bit differently. I'm not able to edit this part out, but I want to go get my book for hummingbird, okay? I actually think I know what hummingbird is talking about, but if you're going to excuse me for 1 second, I want to get this reference book here. If I can find it, here it is. Here it is, okay? Now, I'm going to look up, this is from Stephen Farmer. It's a very good reference book. What ended up happening here, as you can see, is this form that came out of the water. This is clearly water here. Connected to this yellow, enmeshed in the water, deeply rooted like an anchor in the water, but it's joy. This is yellow, you know, this is will and the personality, the persona, kind of the willpower within you in and amongst the waves of emotions. It could be an emotional cycle for a lot of you over the course of this month ahead. So your emotions are speaking to you, okay? But out of this emerged a hummingbird. Let me see what I see for that. Here we go. Okay, so this is from Stephen Farmer. And we'll talk about the other things that are coming through as well. You need to be very flexible with the twists and turns your life will take during this time frame. Put more emotional sweetness in your life. You need it. You're going through some very heart-opening kinds of experiences. And you'll quite naturally draw more and more love into your life, which is interesting because this started as a heart. Okay. Openly express the love you have and feel for those important people in your life. Give yourself the gifts of as many flowers as you can. Spread them around your home and enjoy their sight and fragrance throughout this time frame. So the one thing too that I want to say that I know about hummingbird that's not really mentioned here is that the thing about hummers is that they are quick, they're lightweight, they're quick, and they can be flying in one direction and immediately turn and go the other way, another direction. So they're exceedingly light, fast, and flexible. So thus the twists and turns comment that came up there. Now, the thing that I want to point out here is this heart that came through. Now, I have red on my palette, but it didn't want to be red. It wanted to be this kind of earthy brown color, and almost like a terracotta, which is kind of earthy. It started as a heart, and it ended up almost with an apple, like an apple with a stem, and almost with like the little threads of stems with leaves that were once on it. But the core stem is like here at the top. So apple and heart. Heart is obviously talking about heart chakra, being open for love, relationships, expression. Certainly emotions are coming up because we have the blue of the water. So there's an emotional foundation for a lot of you over the course of this month ahead, mid-April to mid-May. Aries new moon cycle. So the Gemini narrative is evoking a lot of emotionality, out of which flexibility is wanting to emerge through you, okay, out and above the emotional waters, but still anchored in it. This, to me, what this is talking about, everybody, is you continuing to feel. Don't detach mind from feeling. This within you is your anchor into your emotional waters. Emotions are a navigation system. They're not to be vilified. So this is about you staying anchored in your emotions, but be flexible. Come above the waters too. Anchor in them, but yet come up and out. There's no need to dwell within them, in other words. Here, again, above the water is this heart that became an apple. For me, the heart is opening. It's heart chakra. It's love. It's allowing love in. It's also about expression. But apple, to me, represents abundance, right? One apple seed can create an apple tree, which, you know, brings forward hundreds of apples for every year. So this is about nature's abundance. So for me, this is about the abundance of love that is possible for you. It's the growth edge for you over this time frame. The fact that a black line came over here. Now, this reminds me, first of all, it kind of came through as a tear, almost like a teardrop, but it almost looks like, you know, those old images of hobos that had the stick with their bag tied on the end of the stick that they would hold over their shoulder. That is what this reminds me of ultimately. So for some of you, it might be that there's old baggage that is blocking the abundance of love that wants to come through. And the fact that hummingbird ultimately emerged through the charcoal edition here is very interesting. Now, what this is, I can't tell you. It's green and it's growth, but again, there's like this arced, almost like a chalice. Again, I mean, sometimes these chalice or cup-like formations come through in the monthly readings, but here there is some sort of an arc, a holding. The thing about this, though, whatever growth is happening for you this month, I want to say that it's actually more spiritual and mental versus material. So the growth here is almost in your psyche, in your consciousness. And maybe you have this ability here, Gemini, to hold it in place, to hold the growth of your ideas, of your inspirations that want to come through. Why do I say that? Because this is not grounded to anything. This growth up here, these, let's say, some arc, maybe a big idea, a big plan, right? And maybe some details about that plan. You're having these ideas. Why? Because this is not grounded to the earth. It's not grounded into even the waters. So I see your mind activated with ideas for the future, perhaps, because there's this big arc here. And I see you holding it well. It's almost like you have a mental container for the idea of plans for yourself, really. Okay. But again, there's an emotional waters element that where feeling is wanting to be retapped in and reconnected. There is this kind of old baggage that is holding on, maybe bringing you down from the expression of love and the abundance of love to flow fully. Okay. Now, I'm going to pull a Carolyn Mace archetype card, and as I've done in the previous months, as I've done for a couple of years now, actually, we're going to pull a primary growth edge that's related to the cycle of your growth this month. For those of you interested in my work, you can go to the alchemyofholism.com. I also have another website that's going to be emerging at some point soon, which I'll share shortly about that as well. But the alchemyofholism.com/the-service will bring you to my services. Interesting. Okay, dilettante is coming up. This is always an interesting card for me. Let me read it. So a growth edge for you, a prime growth edge for you over the course of this shifting narrative, this time frame of shift, is moving out of pretension to having much deeper knowledge than you actually possess, because you feel you need to fit a model, some sort of an ideal. So there's a protection element that wants to be evolved out of, and what wants to be evolved into, grown into, matured into is having delight in the arts without having to be a professional. There's no need to be to have a title or a certificate, so you don't have to be a professional, and it alerts you to the dangers of becoming superficial in your pursuits. Dilettante, the growth edge for you this month is about becoming deeper in your pursuits. So these ideas of growth that you have, tap it deeper. I have to tell you, it could be that this is not connected because this is kept somewhat superficial. You might have grandiose plans for you up in your mind, but they're actually maybe not grounded in truth at some level, because they clearly are at another, right? It's an ideal. But here you might have some idea that you need to be a professional, that you need to have a certificate, a degree, an award. But that's not the case, everybody. And you don't need to hold some identity that says that you know more than you do. You know the perfect amount. I'm getting chills with that too. You know the perfect amount for what you're here to bring in the now. It's perfect. So you don't need to pretend that you're anybody that you're not. Okay, everybody? So to find me, you can go to the alchemyofholism.com. My name's Erin. I'm sending you much love and much support for this beginning shift, this catalyzing time of shift that's going to push us into a new 7-8 year cycle of growth. Interested in becoming a Patreon, learning about my weeklies that I'm doing, you can see the link below the video. Much love. Bye-bye.